Magic the Gathering and the MTG internet has many memes. Stormcrow, Yargle, scornful egotist. But there's one seemingly forgotten meme that came before them all. The legend of the most powerful creature in Magic the Gathering, Throatwolf. To understand the legend of Throatwolf, we need to travel back not only to the earliest days of Magic the Gathering, but the earliest days of the Magic internet. Back in 1994, Magic was celebrating its first birthday, and its first expansion set, Legends, was just about to release. Meanwhile, unlike the sprawling behemoth that is today with Reddit and Twitter and Facebook and infinite websites like MTGGoldfish and TCG Player and Star City Games, the Magic internet was also in its infancy, finding a home in the Deckmaster group on Usenet. In a lot of ways, the early Usenet days of the MTG internet was strikingly similar to something you'd see on r/MagicTCG on Reddit today. There are posts complaining about overpowered cards, showing off combos, asking questions about interactions, all pretty typical stuff, although sadly I haven't been able to find any pictures of mana symbol cupcakes my girlfriend made, but still, it's kind of like early Magic Reddit. Probably the biggest difference between the old Usenet days of MTG internet and the current era is that Usenet was also one of the primary ways people would get the cards that they needed. Today, if you need some cards, you can just head over to cardkingdom.com/MTGGoldfish and have all the cards you need in a matter of days. But back in 1994, these kind of vending websites weren't actually a thing yet. Plus, remember, Magic was just a year old. Well, you might be lucky enough to live someplace where you're at a store selling booster packs near you. It's also very likely that you might not really have any other way to get cards. As such, one of the main ways people would get cards in the earliest days of Magic was by posting trading posts on Usenet. You post your list of the cards you want and then a list of the cards you're willing to trade, and hopefully another Usenet user would be able to trade you what you needed. And it was in one of these trading posts by a user by the name of Jesse Fox in May of 1994 that the legend of Throatwolf was born. Jesse had posted a list of cards that he wanted to trade, which included a Black Lotus. Unsurprisingly, the Lotus drew a lot of interest, and the very next day, Jesse posted a response to himself saying that there were some biggie offers that had been nice for the Lotus, but suffice to say, there was no card that he would trade straight up for the Lotus, except for perhaps Throatwolf. And with this one throwaway line in a trading post trying to offload a Black Lotus of all things, the legend of Magic's most powerful creature, Throatwolf, was born. A couple of months later, Legends had released, and Jesse Fox was back at it, posting a new thread on Usenet, this one saying, "Legends Card Rules question" is the title, and the post itself says, Throatwolf may attack during opponent's turn. I understand how you resolve the order of attacks, like fast effects, but how does the Nettling Imp Siren's Call work with this? The imp says I can only be used during opponent's turn before attacks, but can it be used during your own turn before your opponent's Throatwolf attacks you? I figured not, but I was wondering how other people have been playing this. And this post got a very serious response from John Rawlinson saying, I haven't seen the Throatwolf card, but Nettling Imp definitely says that if the creature cannot attack, it's destroyed. Therefore, if you have the wolf and your opponent has an imp, the wolf will die on your next turn if imp is tapped and the wolf is targeted. So before you're too harsh on John for answering the question about Throatwolf so seriously, you gotta remember, it was 1994. In the mind of a 2023 Magic player, all of this probably sounds absurd. If there's a card you never heard of, you just type it in Google or Scryfall and know all about it in 2 seconds. But remember, it's 1994. None of those things exist. There was no Google, there was no Scryfall, there was no internet database of Magic cards at all. If you wanted to know what cards were in a new set, you were asking your friends, maybe going to a Usenet news group and hoping you actually got the right information, or hoping someone had a Duelist magazine maybe that, if you got lucky, could have a set list in it that you could check manually. So the idea that there were cards out there that you'd never seen before, that was just part of life for a 1994 Magic player, and doubly so because all this was happening right after the release of Legends, and Legends was plagued by supply issues. Many of the cards in the Legends set at the time were super rare in the sense that they were super hard for players to find, so the idea that there was some like super ultra rare first strikingest wolf card that you had never seen before that was in Legends, that was incredibly believable with everything that was going on at the time in 1994. So a few days after the post from Jesse and the answer from John, there was another post about Throat Wolf, this one by a user named the Sloan Ranger, which is the first time a non-Jesse Fox person actually started posting about Throat Wolf. And this post asked another question about Throat Wolf and how its ability to attack during opponents' turns interacted with the banding from Helm of Chustak. And this led to Larry Chatterfield, another user, asking about Throat Wolf, saying, what are the colors and rarity of this card? I'm very interested. I'm trying to figure this out. Jesse was quick to jump in on the post and said Throat Wolf is a 1 green 2/2, but then he later said, oh no, I got confused, I'm sorry. It's actually a 2 green 1/1, but it can attack during your opponent's turn, and it has double first strike, so it attacks before other creatures with first strike. He also mentioned that it had really cool Amy Weber art, and at this point, people started to believe in the Throat Wolf. A couple of days later, Red Adept posted about how he had seen a news group reference to Throat Wolf, but he hadn't been able to find it on the checklist in his magazine or seen anyone in his playgroup play it, which made him wonder if it was a new super rare Legends card. This was especially important to Red Adept because he was building a wolf themed deck and he really needed any new wolves to add to the deck. And to this, a user named MG Clinton responded and said, yes, it is a super rare. It's from Legends. There was only 121 of these printed, apparently one sheet of Throat Wolves, and the rumor was apparently that Wizards wanted to add this card to the set, so they started to print the set with Throat Wolf, but then they had a change of heart and realized that first strike or double first strike was too powerful, so they tried to pull it out of the set, but 121 of them actually were released. And MJ Clinton had the same exact text as Jesse's post, that it was a 4 mana 1/1 with double first strike and could attack during opponent's turn. But there was an addition here. Clean added that the card had some neat flavor text, which was the Dominion Throat Wolf appears weak, but don't be fooled. No other creature can match its incredible speed. So now the community was in a tizzy. People were all over this Throat Wolf card. People were calling it the strongest creature in Magic. People were trying to find it. They wanted to add it to their decks. Of course, there were also some skeptics, and one of these skeptics posted a post on Usenet that was titled, Tom, is there really a Throat Wolf? In which they asked Tom Wiley, who was the first rules manager of Magic the Gathering and actually creator of the Oracle, which we now know as the Gatherer, if Throat Wolf was real. And Tom responded that no, it wasn't real, although this wasn't enough for players who claimed that Tom was trying to keep this ultra rare a secret for as long as possible because Wizards was using this as like a promotion, and other players were chiming in the thread saying that they own copies or they'd play against copies or they'd sell copies. So the story of Throat Wolf continued to resolve, even with an official Wizards employee actually straight up saying that it wasn't a real thing, just no one believed them. Rumors started to fly that there were actually one sheet of Throat Wolves from Alpha, 121 from Alpha, but then there were 2 more sheets from Legends, and that they each had art from a different artist, so every one of them was unique. There were so many stories about this card. As a result, over the next few months, rumors about Throat Wolf persisted. There were posts where people were asking if it was real or if they had somehow missed some joke. And then, of course, in any of these posts, the commenters would keep the meme going, talking about how they had a copy and it was amazing and the best card they'd ever played with. Eventually, the iconic early Magic magazine, The Duelist, put one of its reporters on the case, which ended up with an article titled On the Trail of the Throat Wolf, where the author traveled around the country trying to find a copy of Throat Wolf, but it was unsuccessful. Eventually, there got to be so many posts on the Deckmasters Usenet group, and so much confusion surrounding the card, that the group actually added a Throat Wolf section to their FAQs, clarifying that there are no Throat Wolves. By the end of 1994, about 6 months after that first post from Jesse Fox, the meme had started to fade. People started to believe that it actually wasn't a real card. So many people were saying it wasn't real. There were still occasional posts and references to Throat Wolves, or sometimes jokes like Moat Wolves or Strep Throat Wolves. The last mention of Throat Wolf on the Usenet came in February 1995 when Eric Anderson posted a deck list full of fake cards like Smurf Overlords with a note that they were still trying to get a Throat Wolf for the deck. And with that, the meme had died. Like any good meme, it had run its course, lasted about 6 months, and that was it. Although there was an interesting post by a user by the name of Carson Craig, who said, I know that Throat Wolf isn't real, although you know what would be nice? What about if super rares were actually real? What if we had rares that show up like once in every 10 packs and can be super powerful cards? And while it took another 15 years, Wizards did eventually add mythic rares to the game, which were almost exactly what Carson had proposed. So in some ways, you could argue that Throat Wolf, even though it didn't technically exist, was the first mythic rare ever. Regardless, by February 1995, the Throat Wolf meme was over, and for the next 25 years, Magic's first meme lay dormant. Throat Wolf was a forgotten part of early Magic history and early Magic internet history, but that changed in 2019 with the release of Mystery Boosters. Mystery Boosters had this gimmick where the set had a bunch of goofy playtest cards that weren't legal in tournament formats, and alongside Slivdrazi Monstrosity, Barry's Land, Mirrored Lotus, and many more, was the first confirmed appearance of Throat Wolf in the wild. While it was lacking the amazing flavor text and certainly didn't have Amy Weber's art, the version of Throat Wolf from Mystery Boosters was mostly faithful to the original Usenet post from 25 years before, as a 3-mana 1/3 that had First is Strike, so it dealt its damage before creatures with First Strike and could attack during opponents' turns. Somehow, from a throwaway line in a trading post from Usenet in 1994, and the persistent memeing and trolling abilities of the early Magic internet users, combined with the lack of card availability in the earliest years of Magic, which made it so people really didn't know what cards existed and didn't, Throat Wolf somehow became a reality. So I guess you could say that Jesse Fox was right all along. Throat Wolf was real. It was just so rare that it took the multiverse 25 years to find it. Looking for even more Magic? Well, check out the video where I explain the MTG iceberg, or maybe the one about the most hated card from every year of Magic the Gathering.